January 29th, 1945, Holtzheim, Belgium, 2:47 in the afternoon. First Sergeant Leonard Funk turns the corner of a farmhouse and stops. 90 German soldiers are looking back at him. Half of them are gripping weapons. The other half are pulling rifles off a pile in the snow. 4 American paratroopers kneel with their hands locked behind their heads. Those men were guards 20 minutes ago. Now, they're prisoners. 80 of those Germans had been captured by Funk's company during the assault on this village. 4 men left to watch them, all anyone could spare. But a German patrol came in from the outside. 10 men in white snow capes, nearly invisible in the blizzard. By the time the guards realized what was happening, it was over. Now, the Germans are free, armed, and organizing to attack Company C from behind. A German officer steps forward. He drives the muzzle of his MP-40 submachine gun into Funk's stomach, screams something in German. Funk doesn't speak German. The officer screams again, louder, face flushing red, veins visible in his neck. Funk looks at the 90 Germans, looks at his 4 men helpless in the snow, looks at the gun barrel digging into his gut. And then he starts laughing. Not a nervous chuckle, not a polite smile. He bends forward, shoulders shaking. Full, genuine laughter, the kind you can't stop even when you want to. The German officer stares, screams again, louder still. Funk laughs harder. What happens in the next 60 seconds will end with 21 Germans dead, the rest throwing their weapons into the snow, and Leonard Funk standing in the middle of the carnage, somehow still alive. All because he couldn't stop laughing. Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. was born on August 27, 1916, Braddock Township, Pennsylvania. A working-class steel town carved into the hills along the Monongahela River, 8 miles east of Pittsburgh. Smokestacks, foundries, the smell of iron in the air. Funk grew up fast. Responsibility came early. By the time he graduated high school in 1934, he'd been looking after his younger brother for years. The Depression had its teeth in everything. Jobs were scarce. College was a dream nobody in his neighborhood talked about out loud. He worked, he showed up, he kept his head down. June 1941, Congress extends the draft. Europe is already burning. Asia is burning. Funk's number comes up. He reports to the induction center in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. He's 24 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, 140 pounds. The Army examiner looks at him, probably thinks, supply depot, maybe a clerk? They're wrong. Funk volunteers for the paratroopers. In 1941, American airborne forces barely exist. The idea of jumping out of aircraft to land behind enemy lines and fight surrounded, it sounds like a punishment, not a military strategy. The men who volunteer are a specific kind of person. They have to be. Airborne training is designed to find where you break. 5 weeks of relentless physical conditioning, running, climbing, falling, getting up, doing it again. Half the candidates wash out. Then the towers, then the aircraft. The first time you stand in that open door at 1,200 feet, the wind tearing at your face, everything in your body tells you to grab the frame and stay put. Funk doesn't grab the frame. He earns his jump wings. Gets assigned to Company C, 1st Battalion, 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Training at Camp Blanding, Florida. The 508th ships to England in late 1943, joining the 82nd Airborne Division, the All-Americans, veterans of Sicily and Italy, men who had already seen real combat, already watched friends die. Funk is the new guy, 27 years old, ancient by paratrooper standards. Most of the men around him haven't turned 20 yet. But he has something they're still developing, a steadiness, a quiet competence. The kind of presence that makes men look to you without you having to ask for it. By D-Day, he's a squad leader. June 6, 1944, 1:30 in the morning. The C-47 transport shudders as flak explodes around it. Funk stands in the stick, the line of paratroopers waiting to jump, 60 pounds of gear lashed to his body. Thompson submachine gun, ammunition, grenades, rations, medical kit. The plane is at 400 feet, too low for a safe jump, but the pilots can't climb. German anti-aircraft fire is everywhere. Tracers streak through the dark like burning wire. Fragments ping off the fuselage. The green light comes on. Funk jumps. The prop blast hits him. Then the chute opens and the roar disappears. Below him, occupied France. Enemy territory in every direction. The Normandy airborne operation falls apart from the first minute. German guns have scattered the formations across 50 miles of French countryside. Paratroopers land in flooded marshes and drown under the weight of their equipment. Some come down directly into German positions and die in their harnesses before they can fight back. Funk lands hard. His ankle twists on impact, badly sprained, possibly fractured. Every step from that point forward is agony. But he can walk. He can fight. He gets up, he buries his chute, starts moving. He's 40 miles from his assigned drop zone. 40 miles of German-held territory, alone in the dark. Within hours, he's collecting lost men, paratroopers from different units, different companies, different regiments, all of them scattered, all of them looking for direction. 18 of them eventually, forming a patchwork force with no orders and no clear objective beyond survival. Funk leads them. He insists on walking point himself, the most exposed position, despite his damaged ankle. They move at night. They hide by day. They fight when they have to. For 10 straight days, Funk keeps this group alive and moving through German-controlled territory. They link up with Allied forces on June 17th. Every single man makes it back, not one casualty. 10 days behind enemy lines, the Silver Star, a Bronze Star, his first Purple Heart. Leonard Funk is just getting started. September 17th, 1944. Holland, Operation Market Garden. The largest airborne assault in history. 35,000 paratroopers dropping into the Netherlands to seize a series of bridges. British, American, Polish, all of them jumping together. If it works, the Allies could be inside Germany before winter. It doesn't work. The details of Market Garden's collapse are long and grim. The British 1st Airborne Division gets surrounded at the furthest bridge by SS Panzer divisions that weren't supposed to be there. Of 10,000 men who dropped, fewer than 2,000 escape. The bridge at Arnhem enters history as a monument to what happens when a plan has no margin for error. But Funk isn't thinking about the plan. He's thinking about his mission. After touching down, his company secures their objective, standard enough. Then Funk notices something that isn't in any briefing. 3 German 20mm anti-aircraft guns are firing at the Allied gliders coming in. Those gliders carry reinforcements, artillery, ammunition, medical supplies. If the guns keep firing, hundreds of men will die before they hit the ground. The position is fortified, dug in on high ground near Vaux Hill. Sandbags, camouflage, overlapping fields of fire. Roughly 20 German soldiers manning the weapons and securing the perimeter. Funk has 3 men. Military doctrine is clear. You need at least a 3-to-1 advantage to assault a fortified position. Funk is outnumbered 7-to-1. He attacks anyway. Leading from the front, he and his 3-man patrol charge the position. They kill the security detail. They storm the gun emplacements. They take out all 3 weapons and every crew. The guns go silent. The gliders land. The Distinguished Service Cross, second only to the Medal of Honor, is awarded to Leonard Funk. He now holds both a Silver Star and a DSC, 2 of the rarest combat decorations in the American military. Most soldiers who earn either one are considered heroes for life. Funk still isn't finished. December 16, 1944. Germany launches its final desperate offensive. 3 armies, 400,000 men, more than 1,000 tanks crashing through American lines in the Ardennes forest. Hitler is betting what remains of the Reich on one massive punch: split the Allied armies, capture Antwerp, force a negotiated peace in the West. It nearly works. The attack strikes thinly held sectors: green troops, exhausted veterans pulled off the line to rest. Entire units collapse. The German advance carves a 50-mile deep wound into Allied territory. The Battle of the Bulge. The weather is savage. Snow, ice, temperatures dropping well below 0. Men freeze in their foxholes. Weapons jam. Vehicles won't start. The cold kills as efficiently as any bullet. Then comes Malmedy, December 17th, 1 day into the offensive. A convoy from the 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion runs into the lead elements of Kampfgruppe Piper, an SS armored battle group. The Americans are support troops, artillery observers, radio operators. After a brief engagement, 113 men surrender. They're marched into an open field, disarmed, hands up. Then the SS opens fire. Machine guns, pistols, rifles. Men who fall wounded are finished with shots to the head. Men who run are cut down in the snow. When it ends, 84 Americans are dead in that field. 43 survivors escape by lying still among the bodies for hours, waiting for darkness. The news travels through the American army fast. Before Malmedy, there were unspoken rules. Soldiers surrendered when the situation was hopeless. Prisoners were treated according to the conventions of war. There was a grim professionalism between enemies. After Malmedy, the rules are gone. Something hardens inside Leonard Funk when he hears about the massacre. He's already seen too much. Normandy, Holland, friends left in fields across a continent. But this is different. This is cold-blooded murder. Men who put their hands up. Men who trusted the agreement that surrender meant survival. Funk makes a decision. He will not surrender to the Germans, not under any circumstances. That decision will matter very soon. January 29, 1945, Belgium. The German offensive has been broken. Now the Allies are pushing back, reclaiming everything lost in December. Company C, 508th Parachute Infantry, receives orders to take the village of Holzheim. There's a problem. The company is badly understrength. The executive officer, the second in command, has been killed. There aren't enough men for a proper assault. Funk is now acting executive officer. He looks at his roster and does the math. Then he walks to the company headquarters. Inside are the men who keep armies running: clerks, supply personnel, cooks. Men who process paperwork and distribute rations. Men who have basic infantry training from years ago, but have spent this war behind desks. Funk looks at them. "You're infantry now," he tells them. "Grab your weapons. We're taking that village." He forms a makeshift platoon from 30 headquarters personnel and leads them into a blizzard. 15 miles through chest-deep snow. German artillery shells falling along the route. Temperatures punishing. Wind driving ice into every exposed piece of skin. Funk leads from the front the entire way. They reach Holzheim. Funk organizes the assault. His clerk soldiers follow him into the village street by street, house by house. 15 structures, Germans in every one. Machine guns, rifles, grenades. The defenders don't give ground without a fight. Funk and his improvised platoon clear every building. 30 prisoners taken. 0 American casualties. Another unit captures 50 more Germans on the far side of the village. 80 prisoners total. They're gathered in the yard of a farmhouse near the center of town. With resistance still active in other parts of Holtzheim, Funk can only spare 4 men to guard them. Keep them here, he tells the guards. Reinforcements when we can. He heads back into the fight. He has no idea what's coming. While Funk is clearing the rest of the village, a German patrol approaches the farmhouse from the outside. 10 men, maybe more. White snow capes over their uniforms. In the blizzard, they're nearly invisible. The 4 American guards realize what's happening too late. The Germans disarm them, drive them to their knees in the snow. Then they free the 80 prisoners. Weapons come off the pile. Men organize fast, the way soldiers do when they've been trained and they see an opportunity. A German officer takes command, gives instructions. Position the machine guns here, set the ambush there, wait for my signal. Company C is scattered across the village, cleaning up the last pockets of resistance. They're not expecting an attack from behind. If 90 armed Germans hit them while they're spread out and focused forward, it will be a slaughter. That's when Leonard Funk walks around the corner of the farmhouse. He came to check on the prisoners. Routine. Make sure everything was under control. He turns the corner and the entire scene hits him at once. 4 guards on their knees. Prisoners standing with weapons in their hands. A German officer already striding toward him. The officer shoves his MP40 into Funk's stomach and shouts a command in German. Surrender. Drop the weapon. Funk doesn't speak German. The officer shouts again, louder. His face darkens. He's screaming now. Funk looks at 90 Germans, looks at his disarmed men, looks at the gun barrel pressed hard against his gut. And then something happens that nobody in that yard expects. Funk starts laughing. Nobody has ever been able to say for certain why. Maybe it was tactical, a deliberate attempt to break the officer's rhythm, to create confusion, to buy seconds. Maybe the human mind simply short-circuits when the odds become absurd enough. Maybe the image of a man screaming in a language he couldn't understand, demanding his compliance, genuinely struck him as funny. Funk himself said later that he tried to stop. He couldn't. The officer screams louder. Funk laughs harder. He bends forward. His shoulders shake. He calls out to his men. I don't know what he's saying. Some of the German soldiers begin to glance at each other. A few actually start laughing too, caught up in the bizarre scene of their furious officer and this unmovable American. The officer is thrown completely off. Prisoners don't do this. Men with guns pressed into their stomachs don't do this. They comply. They beg. They raise their hands. This man is laughing at him, and he doesn't know what to do about it. For a few critical seconds, he hesitates, and Leonard Funk uses those seconds. Still appearing to laugh, still leaning forward, he reaches up slowly toward his Thompson submachine gun, slung over his shoulder, the way paratroopers carry it. The German officer watches. Good. The American is finally surrendering his weapon. Funk's hand closes around the grip. He begins to unsling it slowly, carefully. The officer relaxes slightly. He's about to have another trophy. Then Funk moves. One motion, faster than you can follow. He swings the Thompson down, brings the muzzle into line, and pulls the trigger. The M1A1 Thompson fires .45 caliber rounds at 600 per minute. At close range, each one hits with devastating force. The first burst tears through the German officer in less than 3 seconds. He's dead before he hits the ground. Funk doesn't stop. He can't stop. The moment he started shooting, the only path was forward. He pivots, still firing. The Thompson sweeps across the nearest German soldiers. Men scream, men fall. Brass casings tumble through the frozen air. The magazine runs dry. This is the moment that should end it. 30 rounds gone, 90 men still standing. A 2-second reload in a firefight is an eternity. Funk pulls the empty magazine, drives a fresh one in, racks the bolt, one fluid motion, drilled until it's faster than thought, and keeps firing. He's screaming at his guards at the same time. Pick up their weapons, pick up their weapons. The 4 Americans scramble, rifles from dead hands. They had been prisoners seconds ago. Now they're in a gunfight. The Germans break. Their officer is gone. The American who was laughing is killing them and won't stop. Nobody gave orders for this. Nobody has a plan for this. Some shoot back. One round kills the soldier standing beside Funk, but the return fire is scattered, disorganized, terrified. 60 seconds, that's all it takes. 21 Germans are dead in the snow. 24 more are wounded. The rest, more than 40, have thrown their weapons down and raised their hands. The prisoners are prisoners again. Leonard Funk stands in the center of it, smoke rising from his Thompson, the yard quiet except for the wind and the moaning of the wounded. That, he says to his men, was the stupidest thing I have ever seen. Word spreads through the regiment, through the division, through the entire 82nd Airborne. The sergeant who laughed at 90 Germans and then killed 21 of them with a Tommy gun. When the Medal of Honor recommendation reaches Washington, there's no debate. What Funk did at Holtzheim exists beyond argument. Outnumbered 90-1, a gun pressed into his stomach, 4 men already disarmed and on their knees, and instead of surrendering, he attacked. September 5th, 1945, the White House. President Harry Truman places the Medal of Honor around Leonard Funk's neck. "I would rather have this medal," Truman says, "than be President of the United States." The final accounting of Leonard Funk's war. Medal of Honor, Holtzheim, Belgium. Distinguished Service Cross, the anti-aircraft guns in Holland. Silver Star, leading 18 men 40 miles through enemy territory in Normandy. Bronze Star for meritorious service. 3 Purple Hearts, wounded 3 separate times, kept fighting every time. Plus the Croix de Guerre from France, the Order of Leopold from Belgium, the Military Order of William from the Netherlands. He is the most decorated paratrooper of World War II. 5 feet 5 inches tall, 140 pounds. A former store clerk from a steel town on the Monongahela River. The war ends. Funk goes home. He doesn't write a book, doesn't do speaking tours, doesn't turn the Medal of Honor into a career. He goes back to Pennsylvania and takes a job with the Veterans Administration, helping other veterans navigate paperwork, process disability claims, cut through bureaucracy to get what they're owed. Clerk work, the same kind he did before the war. Quiet, unglamorous, necessary. For 27 years, he sits at a desk and helps veterans. His wife Gertrude stays with him through all of it. They raise 2 daughters. They live in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, a working-class neighborhood not far from where he grew up. The medals hang somewhere in the house. He doesn't talk about them. When people ask about Holtzheim, about the laughing, about what it felt like to face 90 men with a gun in his stomach, he shrugs. Did what I had to do. That's all he ever says. Most people have never heard his name. They know other names. Audie Murphy, Alvin York, the famous ones, the ones who got movies made about them. But there's a fitness center at Fort Liberty named after Leonard Funk. A highway in Pennsylvania carries his name. A post office in McKeesport was dedicated to him in 2023. Small things, appropriate for a man who never asked for anything larger. Here's what his story actually tells us. War doesn't favor the biggest soldier, or the strongest one, or even the most fearless. War favors the ones who keep thinking when everyone around them has stopped. At Holtzheim, the mathematics were impossible. 90-1, a gun in the stomach, 4 men already taken. Any rational calculation pointed to one outcome. Funk wasn't doing the math. He was thinking about Malmedy, about 84 Americans shot down in a field with their hands up. He was thinking about his 4 guards on their knees in the snow. He was thinking about the soldiers scattered across the village who would be hit from behind the moment those Germans organized and moved. So he laughed. Maybe as a tactic. Maybe from some strange place where the human brain goes when it accepts that it's already out of options. Maybe because it genuinely struck him as absurd. A man screaming words he couldn't understand, expecting surrender from someone who had already decided he wouldn't give it. Whatever the reason, it worked. And 60 seconds later, Leonard Funk was standing in a field of bodies, alive when he should have been dead. The most powerful man in the world looked at a 5'5" former store clerk from Pennsylvania and said, "I'd rather be you." Think about that.